I was 34 years old when my life changed forever. As a successful software engineer with a beautiful wife of 3 years, I had everything going for me. Amanda and I seemed perfect together, building our lives and dreaming of completing our family with children. When we started having trouble conceiving, I never imagined the nightmare that would unfold. During Thanksgiving dinner, my mother-in-law Janet suddenly accused me of being infertile in front of the entire family. The deepest cut was not her baseless accusation, but the moment my wife stood by her mother, triggering a painful chain of events that would change my life forever. Before I continue with my story, leave a comment letting me know where you are watching from, and hit subscribe so you do not miss any of my future stories. Meeting Amanda felt like destiny. We crossed paths at a tech conference where I was presenting about innovative software solutions. She approached me afterward with insightful questions, her bright eyes and genuine interest instantly captivating me. Working as an elementary school teacher, her compassion for children and enthusiasm for learning matched my own values perfectly. After exchanging numbers, our first date led to many more, and within a year, I proposed under the stars at the lake, where we had our third date. Our wedding day remains one of my happiest memories. Friends and family gathered as we exchanged vows, promising to stand by each other through all of life and its challenges. If only I had known how quickly those vows would be tested. The first 2 years of marriage were blissful. We purchased a charming 3-bedroom house in a family-friendly neighborhood, painted the walls ourselves, and planted a garden in the backyard. On Sunday mornings, we would sit on our porch swing discussing our future children and how we would raise them. Amanda wanted at least 2 kids, and I dreamed of teaching them to play baseball and helping with science projects. My career flourished as I was promoted to senior engineer, while Amanda became beloved by her second-grade students. Our financial stability and loving relationship seemed the perfect foundation for starting a family. Everyone who knew us commented on how happy we looked together, how we completed each other. In those golden days, I believed nothing could come between us. From the beginning, my relationship with Amanda's mother, Janet, was strained. A controlling woman with traditional values, Janet had specific expectations for her daughter's husband that I apparently failed to meet. Despite my stable career and devotion to Amanda, Janet always found fault with me. My clothes were too casual, my job too modern, my family background not prestigious enough. William, Amanda's father, was a gentle soul who clearly had spent decades bending to Janet's will. During family gatherings, he would occasionally shoot me sympathetic glances when Janet began her subtle criticisms of me. I often wondered how such a kind man had ended up with someone so judgmental. But as I would later learn, even the gentlest people can be controlled by manipulative partners. The only genuine ally I had in Amanda's family was her cousin Sophia. 3 years younger than Amanda, Sophia possessed a warmth and openness that her relatives seemed to lack. Whenever family tension mounted, she would redirect conversations or find reasons to pull me away from Janet's scrutiny. During holiday gatherings, Sophia often rescued me with comments like, "Jordan, would you help me bring in the dessert?" or "I need your opinion on something in the other room." These small acts of kindness meant more than she could know. Family dinners became tests of endurance. Janet would dominate conversations, frequently highlighting stories about successful men in their community while giving me sideways glances. "Thomas just made partner at his law firm," she would say, or "Jennifer's husband bought them a vacation home in Florida." Each comment carried the unspoken message, "You are not good enough for my daughter." Amanda would sometimes defend me, but more often stayed silent during these interactions. I told myself she was simply avoiding conflict with her mother, that inside our home our bond remained unbreakable. I was wrong. After our first wedding anniversary, Amanda and I decided it was time to start trying for a baby. We approached parenthood like everything else in our marriage, with excitement, planning, and teamwork. We read books about conception, adjusted our diets, and even used ovulation tracking apps to maximize our chances. The first month, Amanda bought pregnancy tests in bulk. Each negative result was met with, "It is okay." Most couples do not succeed right away. By the third month, her optimism remained strong, but I noticed a slight tension creeping into our conversations. When the 6th month passed without success, worry lines appeared on Amanda's forehead. Our romantic, spontaneous intimacy transformed into scheduled attempts, dictated by fertility windows. Sex became mechanical purpose, driven less about connection and more about achieving a goal. I missed the carefree passion we once shared, but reminded myself this temporary stress would be worth it once we held our child. Family gatherings became increasingly uncomfortable. as relatives asked invasive questions about our family planning. Any news yet became a greeting rather than hello. Janet was the worst offender, constantly mentioning friends whose daughters had given them grandchildren within months of marriage. Patricia's daughter just had her second baby, and they only got married last year. Janet would announce at Sunday dinners. Some women are just natural mothers, I suppose. These comments affected Amanda deeply. After such visits, she would become withdrawn and emotional. One night after a particularly pointed dinner with her parents, I found her crying in our bathroom. "What if something is wrong with me?" she sobbed against my shoulder. "Nothing is wrong with you," I assured her. "Many couples take a year or more to conceive. We should both get checked out by doctors if you are worried." She nodded agreement. But looking back, I realized this was the beginning of the wedge between us, one that her mother would skillfully drive deeper in the coming months. As our struggle to conceive continued, I noticed Amanda spending more time on the phone with her mother. Their conversations would abruptly end when I entered the room, and Amanda would put on a forced smile that never reached her eyes. "Just mom stuff," she would say, when I asked what they discussed. Late one night, I overheard Amanda in our guest bathroom speaking in hushed tones. "I know, Mom. But what if Jordan is the problem? How do I bring that up without hurting his feelings?" My stomach tightened hearing these words. The next morning, I suggested we both see fertility specialists to rule out any issues. Amanda's response was defensive. "Why do you assume there is a problem that needs fixing? Maybe the timing just is not right yet." This pattern continued for weeks. I would suggest medical consultations, and Amanda would find reasons to postpone. Eventually, I made an appointment with a urologist on my own, not telling Amanda until the day before. "You went behind my back," she accused when I mentioned my upcoming appointment. "I am not going behind your back," I explained. "I just want answers, so we can address any issues. Would you come with me?" She refused, claiming a work commitment she could not break. I attended the appointment alone, underwent comprehensive testing, and received news that everything was normal with my sperm count, motility, and overall reproductive health. When I shared this information with Amanda, expecting relief, she seemed almost disappointed. "Well, tests are not always accurate," she said dismissively. That night, I noticed her texting her mother extensively. When I asked if she would now schedule her own fertility checkup, she changed the subject. The distance between us grew wider, a chasm filled with unspoken accusations and suspicions. The annual Thanksgiving gathering at Janet and William's house had always been tense, but that year the atmosphere was suffocating. Janet had outdone herself with passive-aggressive hospitality, placing me far from Amanda at the dinner table and repeatedly bringing up her friend's grandchildren. "Barbara's grandson is learning to walk already," she announced while passing the cranberry sauce. "There is nothing like watching your own grandchild take their first steps. Some of us may never know that joy." I caught William wincing at her comment, but remaining silent as always. Sophia gave me a sympathetic glance from across the table. As dessert was served, Janet cleared her throat dramatically. "I think we need to address the elephant in the room," she announced, fixing her gaze on me. "Amanda deserves to be a mother, and it has been long enough now that we should consider all possibilities." The table fell silent. Amanda stared at her plate. "Jordan." Janet continued, her voice dripping with false concern. "Have you considered that you might be the reason my daughter does not have children yet? Not every man is capable of fathering children." The room froze. William's fork clattered against his plate. Sophia gasped audibly. "Mom," Amanda's brother Thomas interjected. "That is completely inappropriate. I am just saying what everyone is thinking," Janet defended. "My daughter deserves a husband who can give her children. Some men simply cannot perform their basic biological function." I looked to Amanda, waiting for her to defend me, to mention my normal medical results, to stand by her husband. The seconds of silence stretched painfully. Finally, Amanda spoke, but not the words I desperately needed to hear. "Mom is just concerned about my happiness," she said softly. "She wants what is best for me, for us." In that moment, something shattered inside me. My wife had not only failed to defend me, but had essentially endorsed her mother's cruel, unfounded accusation in front of the entire family. The drive home from Thanksgiving dinner was deadly silent. As soon as our front door closed behind us, the dam broke. "How could you sit there and let your mother humiliate me like that?" I demanded. "You know I had tests done. You know the results were normal." Amanda's face hardened in a way I had never seen before. Tests can be wrong. And besides, Mom was just expressing concern. Concern. She accused me of being infertile in front of your entire family. That was not concern. That was a deliberate attack on my manhood. Do not be so dramatic, Amanda dismissed. Maybe if you were more concerned about us having a baby and less concerned about your ego, we would be parents by now. The argument escalated until Amanda finally admitted the truth. Mom and I have been talking about this for months. She thinks we should consider alternatives if you cannot father a child. Alternatives, I repeated, stunned. What exactly does that mean? Amanda would not meet my eyes. Just options to explore if you are the issue. That night, I slept in the guest room, my mind racing with betrayal. My wife and mother-in-law had been discussing my perceived fertility problems behind my back for months, despite medical evidence to the contrary. The woman who vowed to stand by me was instead standing with the person trying to tear me down. The following weeks were a downward spiral. I suggested marriage counseling, but Amanda refused, saying the only problem was my inability to accept reality. She spent more weekends at her parents' house, leaving me alone in our once happy home. The isolation was crushing. Friends noticed something was wrong, but I felt too humiliated to explain. How could I tell them? My wife believed I was less of a man despite medical proof otherwise. Through Sophia, I learned that Janet was spreading rumors throughout the family. Poor Amanda. Married to a man who cannot give her children, she would say with mock sympathy. She is considering her options, you know. These options became clearer when Sophia called me one evening, her voice tight with concern. Jordan, I thought you should know. Aunt Janet introduced Amanda to her colleague's son last weekend. He is a doctor recently divorced, and Janet made a point of mentioning he has a child from his previous marriage. The betrayal cut deep. While I was fighting for our marriage, my wife was being paraded in front of potential replacements. When confronted, Amanda did not deny meeting the man, but insisted it was just a family dinner. That same night, I discovered her searching through my phone while I was in the shower. When questioned, she claimed she was looking for evidence, but would not elaborate on what kind of evidence she sought. Our home became a battlefield of suspicion and accusation. The woman I had fallen in love with seemed replaced by a stranger, one who viewed me as defective and inadequate based on her mother's poisonous influence. Depression crept in like a thick fog. I lost interest in activities I once enjoyed, struggled to focus at work, and lost weight as my appetite diminished. Nights were the worst sleepless hours spent, staring at the ceiling, replaying moments from our once happy marriage and wondering where it all went wrong. I questioned everything about myself. Despite medical confirmation of my reproductive health, the constant accusations made me doubt my own body, my masculinity, my worth as a husband. The psychological impact of being repeatedly told you are deficient, even against scientific evidence, is devastating. During this dark period, I reached out to a therapist who helped me recognize the emotional abuse I was experiencing. What would you tell a friend in your situation, she asked during one session. The question was illuminating. I would tell them to stand up for themselves, to not accept unfair treatment based on lies. With renewed determination, I approached Amanda one evening with a proposal. I have scheduled comprehensive fertility testing for both of us, I told her. I will go again and you will have your first evaluation. If we both want a family, we both need to be checked. That is the responsible approach. Her reaction was explosive. So now you are saying there is something wrong with me, that I am the broken one. Is that it? I am not saying anyone is broken, I explained calmly. I am saying if we want scientific answers instead of accusations, we need complete information. You think I am not good enough for you anymore, is that it? She shouted, her face flushed with anger. Maybe my mother was right about you all along. In that moment, I realized how deeply Janet's manipulation had warped Amanda's perception. My wife was now fully entrenched in her mother's narrative, unable or unwilling to consider objective reality. The distance between us had become an unbridgeable chasm. The final breaking point came during Janet's birthday celebration. I had considered not attending, but ultimately decided to go, clinging to the faint hope that something might change. The evening was excruciating. Janet held court in the living room, accepting gifts and compliments, while occasionally throwing barbed comments my way. Thank you for the lovely earrings, Jordan. Amanda picked them out. Did not. She. You have never quite understood what women want. Needing a moment alone, I stepped onto the back porch for air. Through the partially open window, I overheard Janet and Amanda in the kitchen. Darling, you need to think about your future, Janet was saying. You are not getting any younger, and if Jordan cannot give you children, I know Mom. Amanda replied, her voice weary. I am considering my options. Thomas knows several eligible men who would make wonderful fathers, Janet continued. That lawyer I introduced you to was very interested. My heart stopped. Amanda was not just listening to these suggestions, she was actively considering them. I just need time to figure out the best way to handle this, Amanda said. It is not easy walking away from a marriage, even one that is not working. The conversation continued, but I could not bear to hear more. My wife was planning to leave me to replace me with a man her mother deemed more suitable, all based on a lie about my fertility that both of them clung to despite medical evidence to the contrary. I left the party without saying goodbye, drove aimlessly for hours, tears blurring my vision. By midnight, I found myself parked at a scenic overlook, watching city lights twinkle below, as I made the hardest decision of my life. The next morning, I contacted a divorce attorney. The lawyer, a compassionate woman named Brenda, listened to my story without judgment. Unfortunately, this type of family interference is more common than you might think, she explained. We will protect your interests while making this as straightforward as possible. Armed with legal advice, I confronted Amanda that evening, placing my medical results on the kitchen table alongside divorce papers. I will not live as the scapegoat for our inability to conceive, I stated firmly. I have medical proof there is nothing wrong with my fertility, yet you and your mother continue to blame and humiliate me. Either we both get tested and address this as a team, or our marriage is over. Amanda's face cycled through shock, anger, and finally cold detachment. Men never want to admit when they are the problem, she said dismissively. File your papers if that makes you feel better. Mom always said you would abandon me eventually. Her response confirmed everything. There would be no saving our marriage. The woman I loved had been consumed by her mother's toxic influence, unable to see the manipulation that had destroyed us. The divorce process was brutal. Janet mobilized the family against me, spreading rumors that I was leaving because I did not want children, that I had been unfaithful, that I had emotional problems. Only Sophia and, surprisingly, William stood by me. I am sorry, William told me privately. I should have done more to stop Janet's interference. I have watched her do this before to Amanda's previous relationships. Anyone Janet cannot control becomes the enemy. This insight helped me understand the dynamic that had destroyed my marriage, though it did little to ease the pain. The divorce finalization 6 months later brought a hollow sense of relief rather than closure. Rebuilding my life began with a new apartment across town, a clean slate free from painful memories. I threw myself into work, earning a promotion that both distracted me and improved my financial situation after the divorce settlement. On my therapist's recommendation, I joined a support group for people recovering from toxic relationships. Hearing others' stories helped me realize I was not alone, that the gaslighting and manipulation I had experienced were classic patterns of emotional abuse. Surprisingly, Sophia remained in contact despite family pressure to cut ties. She would meet me for coffee occasionally, updating me on family news and offering friendship when most of her relatives had labeled me the villain. Amanda is not happy. You know, she confided during one such meeting. Aunt Janet now has her living at home again, controlling her schedule, her friends, even her dating life. It is like watching someone in a beautiful cage. While I felt sympathy for Amanda, I also recognized the bullet I had dodged. Had we had children, I would have been permanently tied to Janet's manipulation. Sometimes losing what you thought you wanted opens the door to what you actually need. Gradually, I reclaimed my confidence. I renovated my apartment, took up rock climbing, reconnected with old friends, and even began casually dating. None of these relationships became serious, but each one helped heal the wounds of betrayal and rejection. 9 months after the divorce, I felt like myself again, stronger, wiser, and finally free from the shadow of inadequacy that had been unfairly cast over me. Life has a way of surprising you when you least expect it. One rainy Saturday, I ran into Sophia at a local bookstore. Unlike our planned coffee meetings, this encounter was purely coincidental, both of us seeking shelter from an unexpected downpour. Jordan, I was actually going to call you, she exclaimed, shaking raindrops from her jacket. I just moved into my own place, finally got away from the family pressure cooker. We spent hours talking in the bookstore cafe, our conversation flowing naturally from books to music to her new nursing career. Unlike previous meetings where family drama dominated, this discussion was refreshingly personal, revealing shared values and common interests I had never fully noticed before. I always admired how you handled everything, she admitted as evening approached. You never stooped to their level, never spread rumors, or tried to hurt Amanda back. That takes real strength. Something shifted between us that day. What had been friendship deepened into something more, a connection based on mutual respect and genuine understanding. We began seeing each other regularly, cautious at first about defining our relationship. "What will your family say?" I asked after our third dinner together, when it became clear our feelings were more than friendly. "I do not care anymore," Sophia responded firmly. "I have spent my whole life walking on eggshells around Aunt Janet. I am done letting her control who I can care about." Her courage was infectious. Together, we decided to pursue our relationship openly, regardless of family reaction. The news of our relationship hit Amanda's family like a tornado. Janet called Sophia a betrayer and family disgrace. Amanda sent a series of hurt texts accusing her cousin of stealing her husband, conveniently forgetting she had already discarded me. The pressure was intense. Janet tried every manipulation tactic, from guilt to threats of disownment. Family members were instructed to choose sides, creating a ripple effect of drama that tested our new relationship's strength. Through it all, Sophia remained unshakable. "They cannot control us if we do not let them," she would remind me when the situation felt overwhelming. Surprisingly, William emerged as an unexpected ally. During a chance encounter at a local diner, he approached our table, Janet noticeably absent. "I want you both to know I wish you happiness," he said quietly. "Life is too short to let others dictate your joy." I learned that lesson too late. His blessing meant more than either of us expected. It represented a crack in Janet's wall of control, a validation that we were not wrong to follow our hearts. The family pressure gradually lost its power as we remained united. With each unsuccessful attempt to break us apart, Janet's influence weakened and our bond strengthened. For perhaps the first time, someone had stood against her manipulation and prevailed. The sense of victory was not about revenge, but liberation, the freedom to choose our own path without surrendering to emotional blackmail or unfounded accusations. 8 months into our relationship, Sophia and I were having dinner at my apartment when she placed a small gift box beside my plate. "Open it," she encouraged, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Inside, I found a tiny pair of baby booties and a positive pregnancy test. My hands trembled as I looked up, scarcely able to believe what this meant. "We are having a baby," she confirmed, tears of joy streaming down her face. The emotion that overwhelmed me was indescribable happiness, vindication, and profound gratitude all mixed together. After years of being labeled infertile by my former mother-in-law, life had granted the ultimate rebuttal. Our first ultrasound brought another surprise: twins. 2 strong heartbeats flickered on the screen. As the technician confirmed, we would be welcoming 2 baby boys. Sophia squeezed my hand as we both stared in wonder at our unexpected double blessing. News of the pregnancy reached Janet and Amanda quickly through family channels. Janet's response was telling: total silence. No congratulations, no acknowledgement, just the deafening quiet of a woman whose narrative had been completely dismantled. A week after the news broke, I received a lengthy email from Amanda. "I owe you an apology," she wrote. "I let Mom convince me of things that were not true. I chose her approval over our marriage, and I have regretted it every day since. I am happy for you and Sophia, and I hope someday you can forgive me." The email brought closure rather than reopened wounds. I wished her well in my response, genuinely hoping she would find her way out from under Janet's control. Our wedding was small and perfect, held in a garden with only those who truly supported our happiness in attendance. William came alone, hugging us both with tears in his eyes. Janet and Amanda were noticeably absent, but their absence felt more like freedom than loss. Sophia was radiant in a simple white dress that accommodated her 5-month baby bump. As we exchanged vows, my hands resting gently on her growing belly, I felt a profound sense of rightness. This was where I was meant to be, with someone who chose me completely and honestly. I promised to trust you, to believe in you, and to never let outside voices come between us. Sophia vowed words that held special meaning given our history. "I promise to stand by you in truth, to protect our family from manipulation, and to love you without condition or reservation," I replied, meaning every word with all my heart. The reception was joyful and relaxed, free from the tension that had characterized family gatherings in my previous marriage. Looking around at the genuine smiles and warm congratulations, I realized how toxic the environment had been before, how I had accepted walking on eggshells as normal. As we danced under string lights, Sophia whispered, "We are breaking the cycle, you know. Our boys will grow up in a home built on honesty and respect." Her words cemented the feeling that had been growing since our relationship began. This was not just a second chance at love, but an opportunity to create something healthier and more authentic than what came before. Nothing prepared me for the overwhelming emotion of holding my sons for the first time. Noah and Ethan arrived on a snowy January morning, perfect and healthy at 6 pounds each. Looking down at their tiny faces, I felt a love so powerful it took my breath away. Sophia recovered quickly from the delivery, her natural strength evident as she adapted to motherhood with grace and joy. Watching her nurse our boys singing softly as they drifted to sleep, I fell in love with her all over again. The early weeks were a beautiful chaos of midnight feedings, diaper changes, and precious moments of discovery. I took extended paternity leave, unwilling to miss a moment of this time we had been blessed with. Our apartment quickly proved too small for a family of 4. We purchased a house in a family-friendly neighborhood, ironically, just a few blocks from where Amanda and I had once lived. The symmetry was not lost on me. This was a second chance done right. Parenthood transformed us in the best possible ways. I found patience I never knew I possessed during colicky nights. Sophia discovered a fierce protective instinct that surprised even her. Together we built the family we had both always wanted, founded on trust, respect, and unwavering support. 1 year after the twins were born, I encountered Amanda at a local mall. She looked thinner, her eyes lacking the spark I remembered. We exchanged awkward greetings before she asked to speak privately on a nearby bench. "I just wanted to say congratulations in person," she began. "Your boys are beautiful. You were always meant to be a father." "Thank you," I replied sincerely. "How have you been?" Amanda sighed deeply. "Honestly, still trying to figure things out. Living with mom again has been challenging. I am starting to understand what you went through." She explained that Janet had sabotaged several potential relationships since our divorce, finding fault with every man Amanda showed interest in. "Nothing I do is ever good enough. No one I choose is ever right. I am starting to realize this is about her control, not my happiness." I felt no satisfaction at her situation, only sadness for the woman who had once been the center of my world. "You deserve to live your own life, Amanda. It is never too late to set boundaries." "Easier said than done," she replied with a sad smile. "But I am working on it. Seeing you happy with Sophia and the twins, it has been a wake-up call. Mom was wrong about so many things." As we parted ways, I wished her genuine happiness, free from the guilt and obligation that had destroyed our marriage. Some relationships can never be repaired, but understanding can still bring peace. The journey from betrayal to happiness transformed me in profound ways. I learned to recognize manipulation and stand firmly against it, regardless of its source. I discovered the importance of trusting medical facts over emotional accusations, and the courage to walk away from toxic situations even when doing so feels like failure. Most importantly, I learned that healthy relationships require mutual respect and boundaries. Sophia and I established clear limits with her family from the beginning. We made decisions as a team, consulting each other before committing to family obligations. When Janet occasionally attempted to interfere through other relatives, we presented a united front that left no room for wedges to be driven between us. Our communication remained open and honest, even during disagreements. We discussed concerns directly, rather than involving third parties, building a foundation of trust that sustained us through the normal challenges of marriage and parenthood. Evening became my favorite time of day, watching Sophia read bedtime stories to our boys, their tiny heads nodding with sleep as they curled against her. These precious moments reminded me daily of how differently my life had turned out than I had once planned, and how much better it was for the change. Sometimes the most painful losses lead us to our greatest happiness. When my first marriage ended, I felt like a failure, my dreams of fatherhood shattered by lies and manipulation. I could never have imagined that this devastating experience would ultimately guide me to true love, to the family I was always meant to have. The journey taught me that real love does not tear you down or make you question your worth. It builds you up, believes in you, and stands beside you, even when it would be easier to walk away. To anyone facing similar struggles, remember that your value is not determined by others' opinions, even those closest to you. Trust yourself, honor your truth, and have the courage to walk away from relationships that diminish rather than enhance your life. Life rarely follows our carefully laid plans, but sometimes it delivers blessings beyond our wildest dreams. I lost a marriage but found a family that truly feels like home. What unexpected blessings have come from difficult chapters in your own lives? Leave a comment below, sharing your story of resilience and renewal. If this story resonated with you, please hit like and subscribe to support more stories of healing and transformation. Share with someone who might need to hear that better days can follow their darkest moments. Thank you for listening, and remember that your worthiness is never defined by someone else's narrative about you.